Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this European Doctoral Day. And this is the first year, and then this is the first event that the Arqus Alliance will promote in the framework of the European Doctoral Day. As you know, this day aims to highlight the doctoral education in driving scientific excellence, innovation in academia and outside academia. And today we will talk about mobility. And to introduce this topic, I would like to go back to 2005 in Salzburg, where the European University Association organized a Bologna seminar on doctoral education. At the end of this seminar, 10 recommendations came out. And if we go to number 9, it's a kind of 10 commandments. The 9 commandments is about mobility. And I can read with you what they wrote at that time. Doctoral programs should seek to offer geographical as well as interdisciplinary and intersectoral mobility and international collaboration within an integrated framework of cooperation between universities and other partners. So, 21 years later, is still recommendation valid? Is still mobility a key driver for doctoral education? And so I would like to give the floor now to a couple of colleagues from the Arqus network. So first, I would like to give the floor to Stefan Daniel, who is the director of Lyon Chemistry Graduate School and especially the delegate of vice president of doctoral studies schools. So Stefan and Mireille is the vice director for internationalization and equal opportunities at the University of Graz. They will give a couple of keynotes about what they do in their own institution. So Stefan, the floor is to you.
Thank you, Massimiliano. Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to speak about this challenge of mobility in the development of doctorate journey and to share some of the actions implemented at University Claude Bernard Lyon 1 within the framework of European collaboration and cooperation and the Arqus European University Alliance. Today, as Massimiliano said, mobility is no longer considered an optional aspect of doctoral education. It has become a key component of research training and professional development. Scientific research is increasingly international, collaborative, and interdisciplinary. For doctoral candidates, mobility offers access to new expertise, advanced infrastructures, international networks, and different scientific cultures. At Lyon 1, we strongly believe that mobility enriches not only scientific excellence, but also the personal and professional development of young researchers. One of the major drivers of the strategy is our participation in the Arqus European University Alliance, which brings together several European universities which share the same objective of strengthening cooperation in education, research, and innovation. Within Arqus doctoral mobility, mobility plays a central role, and the Alliance promotes exchange between laboratories, joint supervisions of this, mentoring activities, and international research collaborations. For example, Lyon 1 has developed mobility opportunities for doctoral students and early postdoctoral researchers through dedicated Arqus funding schemes. These initiatives support research, stays in partners university, and encourage the development of European scientific networks and at the early career stage. I would like to mention a very concrete illustration of this talk and this impact of mobility. And this was recently highlighted through the collaboration between Lyon 1 and the University of Padua. Thanks to an Arqus doctoral mobility program, a PhD student from Lyon 1 was able to conduct research abroad and on advanced spectroscopy techniques, I remember. This mobility experience will not only contribute to the access or the success of the doctoral project, but also led to a long-term scientific collaboration between the two laboratories. I think this example perfectly demonstrates how doctoral mobility can become a catalyst for sustainable international partnerships. Another, I think, important dimension of our strategy is the creation of a truly European academic environment on our campus, Lyon 1. During the Joli Mois de l'Europe, what we can translate in English as a beautiful month of Europe, Lyon 1 highlights its commitment to European openness through conferences, cultural activity, multilingual initiative, and events dedicated to mobility and international cooperation. So the objective is to make Europe visible and accessible in the daily life of students and also researchers sometimes. Within this framework, Lyon 1 also promotes mobility preparation initiatives. For example, Arqus student ambassadors organize webinars and experience sharing sessions to help students and doctoral candidates prepared for mobility projects. These actions help reduce uncertainty and encourage more students to engage in international experiences. At the doctoral level, mobility support also includes administration and administrative guidance and financial assistance. International mobility can be challenging because of funding issues, visa procedures, accommodation, and the complexity of organizing research abroad. Therefore, in Lyon 1 doctoral school, international relations offices and research supervisor works together to support doctoral candidates before, during, and also after their mobility periods. Some word about the École Doctorale of Chemistry of Lyon, because I know him being the director of this one. We particularly encourage participation in international conferences, co-tutel agreements, and short or medium-term research stay in partner institutions. These experiences allow doctoral students to develop autonomy, adaptability, intercultural communication skill, and international visibility. However, mobility also raises some important challenges. The first challenge is inclusiveness. Not all doctoral candidates have the same opportunity or personal conditions for international mobility. Financial constraints, family situations, or health issues can create inequalities. Therefore, we must continue building more flexible and accessible form of mobility. Another challenge, I think, is concern sustainability. University must now reconcile internationalization with environmental responsibility. This means encouraging meaningful and well-prepared mobility experience while also integrating virtual collaboration tools and hybrid international activities. Finally, mobility should not be viewed as only physical travel. It's also about intellectual openness, scientific cooperation, and the ability to work within international and multicultural environment. In conclusion, I would say that University of Lyon 1, we will see doctoral mobility as a transformative experience that prepares young researchers for the scientific and societal challenges of tomorrow. Through the Arqus European University Alliance and through many local and European initiatives, we aim to build doctoral pathways that are international, collaborative, inclusive, and sustainable. So mobility is not simply about moving from one university to another. It's also building connections, sharing knowledge, and creating a truly European research community. Thank you very much for your attention.
So I will continue. Thank you, Stefan. I think you already said some very important things. And Massimiliano, I think this recommendation of 21 years ago about mobility is still very relevant at this time. I think mobility is indeed key for young researchers, for developing their own network. Of course, that's very important for the rest of their career. And also for getting experiences that they wouldn't get inside their own organization. So seeing how things can be done in different ways I think is also very important for future careers as well. And that is not only moving to different universities or different countries, so international mobility, but it's also moving between sectors. So you can also have mobility, of course, within your own country, but moving from academia into the industrial sector, things like that. But having said that, it's still relevant, something that was recommended 21 years ago. I think we also have to acknowledge that the context has changed over those years. We've discovered online meetings in the whole COVID period, of course. So hybrid mobility is at the moment much more, let's say, possible and also relevant compared to 20 years ago. As Stefan already alluded, things like sustainability because of climate change, inclusiveness are things that we are much more aware of. That is, this needs to be considered in terms of mobility as well compared to, I think, 20 years ago. So I think at the moment we have a much wider range of options if we talk about mobilities compared to what they had in mind 20 years ago. And that makes it also a much more complex thing to choose from or to decide on when you're in your doctorate period. So at our university, we don't have a one-size-fits-all policy. So we don't force people to have a mobility because I think that would be unfair. As Stefan said, people are living different lives, and you would disadvantage some people if you would use this one-size-fits-all approach. But we do encourage and promote mobilities. We have all kinds of workshops and support systems for that. Also financial support, of course, for visiting international conferences, visiting collaborators abroad and things like that. So that's all supported and promoted within the university. And I think being part of Arqus is a very large part of let's say, how we promote mobilities. I think Stefan already said we have the mentoring program within Arqus, and also now in the new funding period that will start in October this year, we have plans for developing doctoral schools where doctorate students would have much more exchange within the academic hubs. So I think that's also that will partly be in person, but also hybrid types of mobilities. So I think those things provide a lot of opportunities for mobilities. I think what we talk about less is the moving between sectors. And I think that is very important for employability of PhD students as well, that they know what they can expect if they move from academia, from the university into other sectors. What we have in Graz, for instance, is a collaboration with the medical and also the technical university in the area of more, let's say, medical biology field. And there we have lab rotations where people can move between the universities and between fields. And it's not between sectors yet, because it's still the university, but it's going in that direction. So we find that very important. And I think Arqus could be much more of a resource used for this type of mobility as well, the intersectoral mobility, if we use the local ecosystems of all the 9 universities that we have much more. And I think that's also in the plans of the future in the coming years, that we really try to make it easier for doctoral students to move to industrial partners of other universities within Arqus with the context that they have in their own local ecosystems. So not only the mobility between countries, but also between sectors, that it will be much more, let's say, in the focus and much easier to achieve. But also, I really liked what Stefan said at the very end. I think mobility is also some sort of a mindset, being open for other ideas, being open for other cultures, being open for other experiences and new experiences. And I think Arqus is living that idea of having that mindset. And I think that will contribute also to this European feeling or European identity as well. There's one other thing that I would like to give you or to say to you as doctoral students. I think you often underestimate how important you are as a group of young researchers for our universities. You are sort of our business cards if you move to other universities. So you are representing our university, not only yourself, but also our universities. And I think for us as organizational people, I think that has so much added value that you do advertise the university around the world, within Arqus, within Europe, and that's really important for the university also. And that's why I think not only for you, for your future careers, mobility is important, but also for us, let's say, talking with the head of a vice rector now, for us as a university to promote and encourage mobilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Mireille. Thank you to mention the different initiatives that Arqus Alliance is working in the past few years. I have some keywords in my mind that are very important, and inclusiveness, and you talk about sustainability. I like Mireille, what you say about intersectoral mobility. And also, I like very much what you say at the very end. So the added value of our PhD candidates in our university is very, very important. I agree, really. So now we will have a roundtable with 3 early career researchers. So I would like to introduce them. First of all, we have Crenare Brugi, who is a third-year PhD in Integrative Molecular and Cellular Biology at the University of Lyon 1. And she also an Arqus Talent Scholarship holder. So welcome, Crenare. Then we have Matthias Voigt, who is a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Padova. And he is also a member of Arqus mentoring program. Welcome, Matthias. And then we have Bassem Marquet from Lyon 1, who is a lecturer at the university, the Department of Chemical Engineering and Doctoral Ambassador of the French Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Space. So thank you also to you, Bassem. So I have a few questions that I would like to give to you. And I hope to start to ask you, what has mobility meant in your own doctoral journey? So maybe we can start from Crenare, that you are still a PhD candidate. So please tell us what is your experience?
Thank you. So I did my research mobility period in my second year of PhD, and I did it at the University of Padova. It lasted for 1 month. And during that period, I had the chance to see another perspective and to treat my research domain from another angle, let's say. So I had the chance to develop skills in another aspect of my research project. Overall, this, even though not that long, but the 1 month period of mobility helped me to gain new skills in a particular technique that it is used in the clinical aspect of Alzheimer's disease, which I'm studying during my PhD. Most importantly, it helped me to enlarge my professional network. So I had the chance to meet new people, to get new expertise from them, and also to learn from their experience. Well, the mobility period in Padova was a great experience during this PhD journey. And I look back at it as let's say, as a positive impact in my PhD career so far. Yeah, so it has been a great opportunity and a great experience for me.
Thank you. Matthias, do you want to say something about?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here with all of you and to celebrate the International Day of Mobility. Well, coming from a very small village in the south of Poland, I feel like mobility has been a very important part of my life because I kept moving to an even bigger city from a small village to go to school to a bigger city and then to study in Wrocław, which is the third largest city in Poland. And actually, the University of Wrocław is also a member of the Arqus network, of the Arqus Alliance. So that's the first Arqus university I came in touch with. And then for my first Erasmus, I went to the UK, to the University of South Wales. And then for my master's program, I went to the Free University of Berlin, where I also stayed, where I've lived for 10 years now. And in the meantime, I've made several other mobility experiences. And for my current job, mobility is also a very important part because now I work at the University of Padua. I'm connecting with you from the University of Padua, but I come here only once a month for our monthly workshop. I work as a postdoc in a research project. We're a group of 6 people from different European countries, and I do most of my research in Germany. So I travel a lot around Germany doing research, and I come to Padua once a month. And then I also do other things, other programs. And just 2 weeks ago, I returned from the University of Maynooth because, as you've already mentioned, Massimiliano, I'm also part of the Arqus mentoring program, which consists in having a relationship with a mentor from another university. It's open to doctoral students, but also PhDs and postdocs like myself. And I just returned from the University of Maynooth 2 weeks ago because I met my mentor there. So mobility is a very important part of my work. It is a necessary part of my work, but it is also it's a lot of fun. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this later. And of course, there are some limitations connected with mobility, and not everyone can afford to be mobile. But for me, mobility has also been a lot of fun. So I hope to get to that point later.
Thank you, Matthias. It's nice to know that a member of our mentoring program travels so much across Europe. It's very good. And so, Bastien, tell us.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me here. So I'll talk about my own experience when I did my PhD. Very quickly, I had the chance to go to Brazil for 2 weeks to start a collaboration. And what I got from this mobility is, so it was only 2 weeks. So we had a plan of, let's say, moving quickly forward on the project we had together. And in just 2 weeks, I would say we did most of the most important part of the work that we finally published later. So this mobility in just 2 weeks, really made the research faster, because I was 24 hours with that collaborator for 2 weeks. So let's say we were just talking about the project all day, and we both had the objective of going fast. So that kind of mobility, because we know that it's a very short period of time, it makes it very effective. And I think that's one of the most important thing that I got from the mobility. It just makes the research faster, and having kind of a very intense experience with collaborators. Then of course, like we didn't publish after 2 weeks. Like, I mean, research doesn't work that way. But what I said, just like basically you writing the codes, having the more intense discussions, scientific discussions happen during this time. And then, yeah, after 2 weeks, like all the connections afterwards, like the online meetings afterwards, like they were easy because yeah, we spent these 2 weeks together.
Thank you, Bastien. Matthias, you talk about a lot of fun, but I'm very sure that you all encountered some unexpected challenges. So, Crenare, what do you think about challenges?
Well, going abroad anyways, it's itself a challenge, and there might be unexpected stuff on the way. In my case, we prepared beforehand my mobility, let's say. So together with my supervisor and with the research collaborator in Padova, we tried to set everything as best as possible. So when I had to move there, all was ready, also in terms of accommodation and stuff. And going to Padova was like going back home, not because it's Padova, but because it's Italy, and I have already done my master's degree there, so I already know the language. So there was no limit in terms of communicating with people in the daily life, or also with the people with whom I got to work there. Honestly, I didn't encounter a big challenge that made me say, okay, it's hard to be mobile. And no, I don't have, luckily, that kind of experience. Everything went very smooth, and it was honestly a great experience for me. So I'm sorry to not highlight a challenge, because I really had no challenge. It was like a bit stressful maybe before going, in terms of, because it's never that easy. You try to make it as best as possible, but then no, I think we set everything correctly, and it went very smooth.
Good to know, Crenare. You are lucky. Good to know.
I'm lucky, yeah, thank you.
So, Matthias, only fun or also some challenges?
Well, like Renate, I haven't had any very bad experiences or challenging experiences. To me, it's always been, as I said, a lot of fun. And of course, it's not easy to move to a different country. And in the beginning, you feel a bit confused, and you may not feel very comfortable and very safe. But if you go to a university, you have to know that there are teams who take care of you, who will take care of you. They will provide you with the necessary support. So there are people to talk to. You will usually have a mentor you can talk to. And to me, I haven't faced a lot of challenges. At the same time, I have to say I've only not been very lucky, but I've also been very privileged because I don't have any care responsibilities. My partner and I are not planning to have any children, so I think that I will be able to be mobile for even longer than I've already been. At the same time, I think that I think I would like to reduce my mobility in the future and maybe stay more in my home city of Berlin, or it has been my home city for 10 years. So I think that the challenge will come in the future when I will want to spend more time in Germany, which has become my home, and I think that's the challenge which I see in the future. Like for now, I'm okay with traveling a lot, and you may hear the bells ringing here in Padua, so a little bit of local flavor. So yeah, I think this is going to be a challenge in the future, but for now, I've been very lucky and good.
Thank you. Bastien, you mentioned that you work at 24 hours per day. So,
so I didn't work 24 hours. Of course, I slept at some point. But no, it was more having a full experience, like, yeah, working enough and then leaving 24 hours together. Yeah, and it was as well a lot of fun, as much as said. I would say that almost everywhere you would go, people are usually very kind. They're helpful, and yeah, they're willing to make things work. So usually that is not a real challenge. I mean, usually, at least I don't know any bad experience for that. But so the main challenge, I would say, is just something about adaptability. Like anytime you're traveling to a foreign country, for sure, like there are many different problems that you can encounter because of language, because of, I don't know, cultures, anything. And especially in work, these kind of problems can be even like bigger. But as long as you're easy to adapt, I would say it's fine. And yeah, that's maybe my best advice for PhD that would like to go do a mobility. It would be like works on your adaptability here, there. I mean, on the spot. Yeah.
May I quickly jump in, Massimiliano?
Yes, sure.
I moved from the Netherlands to Austria 11 years ago, so as a professor, and there I really had this sort of unexpected challenge with the cultural difference. I hadn't counted on this, actually. And if you move as a professor, you don't have a mentor anymore. So nobody told me about the differences that are not always so obvious. So I found out only after a couple of years that we are having cultural differences, actually problems. So actually my question to the others, to the PhDs and postdocs is, do you think that your mentors or your supervisors can help you there, need to help you there? And how was your experience with that?
Yeah, good question. Granare?
Well, I had the support of my PhD supervisor. If you're referring to that, I had it always, also at the time of my mobility. But as I mentioned before, I did not have something like a challenge that would require attention or something like that. So yeah, my PhD supervisor was always, we always kept in touch during that period to see how it's going and stuff, but not something particularly, let's say, a situation where I had the need for her to help, or it was okay for me.
Okay, good. Matthias?
I can't think of any specific cultural difference that became a big problem, and it can be also quite tricky because your mentor or your supervisor may not know that a certain thing is a cultural difference. It only becomes clear later on when it pops up. So it can be quite tricky, but I'm sure if you have a good supervisor or a good mentor, they will make you aware of that sooner or later. And the only thing that comes to my mind is that I started my PhD not really knowing much about the Polish PhD landscape and academic system. And then I moved to another academic system, the German one. And my supervisor did not tell me a lot about the technicalities, about the intricacies of the German academic system. So a lot of the things I had to learn by myself. So this is the only thing, but at the same time, the supervisor or the mentor are not the only people who you're gonna meet on your way, and you will meet other students, other academic people, but also non-academic people, and they are extremely important and extremely helpful because they can help you look at certain things from a different perspective. So they will also help you a lot. It's not just the academic community you're part of, but you will also be, and you are part of other communities, non-academic ones.
Yeah. So, Bastien, what do you think about the role of supervisor, taking also into consideration that maybe you are already supervisor or you will become supervisor very soon?
Yes, that's a good question because I'm kind of in between now. So during my first experience, the one I talked about in Brazil, actually, thanks to your question, Mirai, I realized that actually it worked well thanks to my advisor, because actually I went to Brazil with him, and he planned everything around, so I could fully focus on the research and on the science. And because like renting the flat, preparing everything around, like, because there are lots of administrative documents that I didn't want to talk about when I was doing the PhD, and he did everything well with that, so that I could fully focus on science. And I think the advisor can take a big role doing all these outside of research process. So yeah, I was kind of the kid, when the PhD advisor doing everything around. But that was great. Yeah, a great chance I had from him. And then I had another experience. Actually, I'm just coming back from Portugal, the University of Minho, that is also a part of Arqus program. And there, I'm kind of the advisor now. I mean, I was just working for myself, but I realized that when I have to organize everything, then I spend, I don't know, maybe 2 hours a day just for administrative things. And then for sure, I have less time to focus on my research, on my science, and yeah, it's more difficult then. So I would say the advisor can really help the PhD to develop his research, their research, by just working on everything around.
Mm-hmm.
Massimiliano, may I say some word about that?
Sure.
Just to, in continuity of what said Bastien, Bastien, you are very lucky to move with your supervisor, so everything you have done to focus on science, but usually doctoral students move alone, so they have to face, I think, some expected as challenges, which are first administration differences between different countries, so this is something that they have to be aware about that, and also finding some accommodation sometime, because it's usually the most difficult things when you arrive in a new, and in some city like Lyon, which is quite, there's a lot of students, so accommodation possibility is not so extended. So you have to have a very strong preparation to move in some city, because you have to face some expected challenge in this case. So my advice sometimes is to contact students from the host laboratory, because it's not so easy for a supervisor to see about accommodation or these kind of things. But sometimes the community or the student in the laboratory can help. So don't hesitate to contact people from the lab, students in the lab, that they have some plan, they have some possibilities sometime, and because of the connection with others, they can help you better than maybe the supervisor sometime or the administration. So this is a big plan to use.
Yeah. We are talking about advices. So, Crenare, what do you suggest to your colleagues, but I'm a bit skeptical or a bit hesitant to go abroad?
Like to go abroad in general, to study abroad?
Yeah.
Well, as somebody who has been abroad since 10 years now, I would highly recommend people to go and study abroad. But then it depends on the person, on the student itself, on the goals they have, and also in the circumstances they are. But like my advice is for people to take advantage of any kind of opportunity that they have around, and give it a try, and go and have another perspective, and open doors to new possibilities and opportunities. Because from my own experience, going abroad has literally changed my life. So I highly recommend the others to try and see other stuff, learn about another culture, about another educational system, and because only like that we can grow. And yeah, my advice is for students to go abroad, and then if they can fit or not, that's another point. But yeah, I highly encourage people to go and study abroad, especially for a PhD.
Thank you, Crenare.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Crenare. Matthias, you already mentioned the fact that going abroad means a lot of fun. But do you have other advices to these students?
Well, first of all, I completely agree with Renate. And you may think that, half a year or 2 years, even 2 years of an academic exchange are a lot. Believe me, they are not. Like 2 years fly by like that. And it's really not a lot. And you don't have to like being mobile or traveling, moving to another country. But the very experience of it will help you later on. And it will enhance your academic profile. And obviously, the more experiences you have, the better. And my advice would be do it while you can, because as we get older, we have more responsibilities, we have more commitments, and very early on we have fewer of them, so we are more mobile. And later on, we have our families, we may have children or some other care responsibilities, so it becomes more difficult. So my advice would be to do it while you can, and remember that you don't have to do it forever. And it's not like you're destined to always be mobile and you can always decide to settle down. And that's why I think it's very important. Even if you don't find an academic job, I think it's very important what Mireille has mentioned about also moving between sectors. And ideally, you will find a position in the academic world. But if you want to settle down in one place, you might have to move to the private sector, which is also fine. And many of us have done it. And it's not as bad as it sounds, believe me. And just make the most of it. To me, mobility has been a lot of fun, and of course, it's about developing networks. It's about making friendships all over the world, also working relationships. It's about enhancing your academic profile, but it's also just about going to a different country, meeting new people, having fun there, and it's getting paid. So why not take advantage of that? I remember going to it was a summer school organized between 3 universities. It was about urban sustainability. I'm a historian. I don't have a lot to do with urban sustainability, but I happened to have been working on urban history specifically. So I applied, not expecting to get a place, and then I did. And then I was really surprised that I did get a place for a summer school, and it took place in Berlin, London, and Sao Paulo in Brazil. And my only motivation was to go to Brazil for free, to be honest. And then I talked with other people, and they said the exact same thing. We only applied because we wanted to go to Brazil for free. And then we talked to the professors, to the mentors, about that, because after some time we were also very friendly with them. We had a very close relationship, and they said, well, one of the main reasons why we did this program was to go to all these countries for free. So you can also have this, you could even say, cynical approach, but the mobility experiences are there for you to take advantage of them, and you should absolutely do that. And why not? If it's paid, if it doesn't cost you a lot, then why not take advantage of it if you can, obviously.
Yeah, good. So, Bastian, which is your main advice?
Yeah, but I absolutely agree with what Matthias just said. Like, it's kind of funny, but it is true. It's very nice experience just to do it, and for free. So just do it, yeah. And actually, for me, I think that most of my best ideas I have on outside of my office. So I would say just maximize the time when you're outside of your office, when you're not really shaded, by your environment. Like sometimes we underestimate this thing. I don't know if it's a property of the human brain, but like being stuck in our environment, in our, habits, language, etc. And just going abroad, it really opens our mind. And yeah, it forces us to just to think differently. And usually creativity comes out of this new environment. So yeah, I would say just I am pretty sure that most of my best ideas, I had them abroad or in holidays or anywhere what I was not working in my environment, in my daily life environment. So yeah, having a mobility helps a lot for that, I think.
Thank you, Bastien. I remind everyone to put their comments and questions on the chat. In a few minutes, we will read also these comments and questions.
Massimo, I just want to say also that mobility helps to learn you better than before, than after. Yes, after you learn better. Sorry, it's about autonomy and confidence. Sorry, I was thinking about the terms. So because I moved to Japan and UK. And during and after my PhD, and I feel more confident about my what I am exactly as a researcher, and also more autonomous because I have to learn by something. Sometimes I must be alone to solve some problem, and not in an environment that I know better. So I think this is very important for a researcher to have this, to learn new better and to have this autonomy and confidence if you want to start a career in science or in humanity or anywhere. So it's good as a man and a researcher even more.
Yeah, I fully agree, Stefan. Thanks. Let's go now.
Sorry, I'd like to add something else. So, and then I can also introduce the status of PhD ambassador. So actually, in France, the government realized that PhD are not really well employed outside of academia. And so, yeah, one of my role is to talk about the employability of PhD in industries, but just outside of public research in general. And I think in mobility, international mobility helps a lot because in some countries, the PhD diploma is not really well known or well recognized. And actually having an international mobility can help to go to other countries where the PhD is better seen. So yeah, it can help open gates to new sectors. So I think you should definitely do it, especially, I mean, if you want to do academia, it is important, but even if you don't, it is even more important, I would say. So yeah, you can think about it when, about your future career.
Thank you, Bastien. So I would like to go back to the sustainability issue, because in the past few years we talk about quite a lot about virtual hybrid mobility. So Cornelia, what do you think about? Is something that could be important? Is important in your career now, or could be in the future?
Well, since I'm doing research, I work in the biology domain, and my research requires necessarily a lab to work on. I think, in my case, a virtual mobility would not wouldn't be the same as let's say a real mobility where you go and you conduct your research in another place. So I believe in my case it wouldn't be that useful. But however, perhaps in some other aspects of the PhD, a mobility like a virtual one could also have a positive impact in some aspects. But I don't think it would be as same as the one that you go and you conduct experiments and you get expertise in person. So yeah, but however, it depends on the, let's say, on the domain. There are fields that not necessarily research is conducted in a lab. So I believe virtual mobility could be helpful for so many people, but not in my case.
Okay. So Matthias, what do you think? Maybe it's not so much fun as the real mobility, but what do you think?
I was gonna say exactly that. So sustainability is a tricky question. It is very important personally to me. So I go to Padua every month, and I always take a train. I've only flown twice from Berlin to Padua or from Padua to Berlin because I was on a tight schedule and I had to save some time. But other than that, I always take a train, which is fantastic because I only have to change once or maximum twice in Munich and then in Verona. and I get to go through the Alps, which is wonderful, and I can work much better on the train than on the plane. It's much more relaxing. It's much more productive, and even if you don't want to work, you can just enjoy the beautiful views. So it takes more time, but to me, it's much more relaxing than taking a plane. So I've decided to go to Padua by train. Because it's more sustainable, environmentally sustainable, but also because it's simply more pleasant for me. And some things obviously are impossible to do in a sustainable way, or in a more sustainable way. So 2 weeks ago I went to Ireland and I had to take a plane. It would have been extremely difficult to get there otherwise on a ferry or whatever. And the question of costs is also quite important. So whenever we can, we should try to travel not by plane. We can also have a lot of online events. I must say they're not the same as live events, and COVID has shown us that not everything has to be carried out in an analog way. We can have digital or online events or hybrid ones. I've attended a few of them, but I don't think that we should make everything digital. I think there's an added value and a special value to meeting people live and to talking to them live and doing fun activities, going out into the city and having dinner and so on. So I think that we should reduce our carbon footprint as much as we can, but I don't think that it's desirable for us to do everything online. And also, I've just read the comments. I see that there is a person from Wrocław, so thanks for the shout out. Yeah, there's a person from Wrocław with us.
Thank you, Matthias. Bastien, what do you think about sustainability?
About sustainability or virtual mobility. So it can be connected. But so about sustainability, yeah, thank you, Matthias, for saying that, because I really agree that we should just reduce our carbon footprint and really consider that. So using the train as much as possible, and especially in Europe, it is easy because there are many different tools for that, especially like the Interrail programs that helps to travel all across Europe. And using virtual mobility, it can also be useful. And there is one example I had I did my PhD during COVID, so most of the conferences I attend to were online. But there is something that was very good with that is anytime I was I read a paper that I was interested in, I could just send a quick email to the researcher in question and having an online mobility. And then with just like a discussion with 1 hour discussion, that my research could improve a lot and could really go on. So virtual mobility is really useful. Even sometimes, so it didn't happen to me, but I'm sure it could. If after such discussion, talking about a paper, and if the discussion can go deep enough, we could open a collaboration afterwards. So I would say virtual mobility is important because then it's the first step to create a collaboration. And collaborations are so important, especially in research, but everywhere. So yeah, I would say virtual mobility is very important. And last point, after my mobility in Brazil, as I said, in 2 weeks we did most of the work, but I mean the hard work. But then all the discussions that were necessary afterwards, and all the work to get to publish the paper, we could do that because of these online meetings we had afterwards. So I would say it's very important to get hybrid, because if you do first mobility, like going to the country and to the lab there, then you create a connection with the people so that the online mobility afterwards can get very straightforward and easier. So I would say, yeah, both aspects are very important in research.
Thank you, Bastien. I would like to put the same question to Stefan and Mireille as vice rector. In your institution, are you developing some kind of virtual or sustainability actions in doctoral education, of course?
Not specifically for the doctoral period, but we have travel guidelines.
Okay.
When you have to travel by train and when you can take the plane, things like that. And about the virtual stuff, we don't have any rules or regulations.
Okay.
For me, I think it's sort of something as an add-on, actually, the virtual stuff. I think what Bastien also said, it's very good for maintaining collaborations. I think you can also set up collaborations. That's the research collaborations that you can do online. But the things that Stefan mentioned, getting the self-confidence and getting to know yourself better, I think that's not happening online. For me, it's like looking through the keyhole of a door. You only see a very small part, so you don't get to know different organizations and cultures really. So in that regard, it has a different purpose, or you have to think about the purpose that you want to use it for, if it needs to be in person for a longer time, or it can be a virtual mobility. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with Mireille. We don't have a special virtual mobility. I think two terms are quite antagonist for me, because it's difficult to be mobile and to be stay on a chair in front of a screen. So I don't think so. No, usually we have a training for PhD that could be virtual, because in this case we can do for more people on one time once. So this is the only thing that we are looking for, just to save times to people, because virtual seminar are, you don't have to move to take train or flight for 1 or 2 hours of a seminar or a meeting, which is a little bit not so intelligent, I would say, clever. So that's the only thing we do, but we don't have any special rules in Lyon 1. We try to be as clever as possible.
Yeah, thanks. Is anybody that want to ask something? Because I don't see any comment in the chat. Please, if you have some comments, put there. And again, Stefan and Mireille, as Alliance, what do you think that we should promote more?
Not so easy question. What we quite do a lot of things to promote the mobility for PhD students. Sometimes we have to convince a supervisor to let their student moving, because they really enjoy that. I mean, I spoke about experimental, like chemistry, because I'm a chemist. So you have to be, as Keram said, you have to have a lab to do this. So sometimes some supervisors are a bit suspicious about moving, because they want that you are in the lab doing some experiment and moving forward in your project. So this is something that we have to face some supervisor, but otherwise I think most of the students knows the importance and very important things that could be to move and to see other things, other chemistry, other admin for chemistry, but for biologists, for you can compare your way to work, you can compare the way you think about. So it's very, you get I mean, you are increasing your knowledge, so because sometimes we can get some new structure organization about our works, because we find that maybe because if you stay in your place, you say, okay, we are doing the best, we have the best organization, the best. It's not the truth. So moving, open your mind. So I think students are now very well prepared about that. Sometimes we have to just convince supervisor.
Yes, I agree. I think that the role of supervisors is very, very important, and everything should be making agreement with them for sure.
Yes. Oh, yes. Otherwise, it would be a very big problem. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Can't agree more. At our university, we also have these supervisors, especially in the more lab-oriented fields, that they think every minute away from the lab is a loss.
Yes.
So please don't send your PhD students abroad, because then they will not generate data for 3 months or a month or whatever time they are away. And I think they forget about all the other relevant experiences that they will bring back. It's not only learning. I think I disagree a little bit with what has been said before. I think even if you have a lab-oriented field, learning new techniques is not the only thing that's relevant during your PhD period. It's also learning to discuss, learning to reflect, and building the connections, where I think being away is extremely important. Visiting other labs is important. But part of that can also be done online. The discussing, the thinking, the having the open mind, you can do that online. And I think that's something that I'm really looking forward in the next period of Arqus, when these doctoral schools will be part of Arqus. I know it will only be in two fields of research. So it will certainly not be for every PhD or doctorate student that we have within Arqus, but at least it's a step forward in that field. And of course, part of or much of that interaction will be online, will be virtual. But I think it's still relevant to have the exchange within your own field with different universities and people from different perspectives. And as I already said in my introductory words, I think in Arqus we also have to focus much more on this intersectoral exchange, also in the doctoral period, to also keep in mind the employability of the PhD students that we educate and train at our universities. And I hope that we can make some steps there also in the next years within Arqus.
Yeah, talking about intersectoral mobility, I want to ask to Crenare, you are the third year of your PhD, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so are you already experiencing some intersectoral mobility, or are you thinking to experience in the next future?
Oh, well, I would like in the future to continue in the academia, so and in my research domain. So I'm not planning to do that, but like I highly encourage people who would like to have another perspective and who are not sure, let's say, where they can fit better, that they give it a try and they see also some other sectors, because that's the only way to understand what works best for us. But I'm sure research works best for me, and that's why I'm convinced I'm going to stay.
Yeah, but some other experience could be nice.
Absolutely, it could be nice, and that's why I'm saying I encourage people to do that. But in my case, I'm not planning to go to another.
Matthias was.
May I have a question to jump on what you just said? So can I, as part of the Arqus program, did you, even if you're not interested in, did you see anything that was like that helped you if you wanted like to go outside of academia?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was there anything?
Yeah. Arqus, if I remember well, has an like an activity. It's I cannot recall the correct name, but it's like career outside academia, something like that, and it's organized every year. So I never joined that, to be honest, but I know that the content of the program is very nice, and that so many students are interested in that, because I know myself that a lot of PhD students, also my colleagues, are not interested to stay in research. They're more prone to go to industry or other sectors. But then it depends on the person, I say.
Yes, definitely, but yeah, good. There are already some things made
absolutely.
if you want. So
Arqus
that's what matters.
offers that. Yeah, and Arqus is very open to such possibilities, let's say.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
I don't see comments, so I would like to close, giving 10 seconds to each of you for a final statement about mobility. So, who wants to start? Stefan, give it the final words.
Final words. Okay, so we can answer to the question why doctoral candidates should be mobile and where they can find helps, maybe. So I think doctoral mobility, as we already said, it allows young researchers to broaden their scientific perspectives and to develop the international networks and acquire essential personal and professional skills for their future career. It is very important for the future. So I think they can find strong support through the doctoral school, international relations office, run programs such as Erasmus Plus and Arqus, as well through supervisor, hopefully, and institutional mobility. So I really strongly encourage people, PhD students, to move to have this kind of mobility. It could be intra or inter-sector, I don't know, but at least to be mobile is I think a very, very important thing to your future career, not only about your PhD, but also for your career.
Thank you, Stefan. Mireille?
Yeah, I think I can only say I fully agree with what Stefan just said. It's for, regardless of what kind of career you want to have after your PhD, if it would be an academic career or somewhere else, it's about developing yourself as a person that you can use a mobility for, and also getting already, perhaps if you know that you want to move to another sector, get some experience there and to prepare yourself as best as possible. If you want to continue in academia, you know that it will be a requirement at some point in your career. And I fully agree with what Matthias said earlier. Do it at a point that it suits you. And for many people, the PhD period is the period where it's easier than afterwards because of things happening in life. So if you have the option during your PhD, really, really use it to your best advantage.
Thank you, Mireille. Let's go to the young researchers. Bastien?
Yes, so in a few points, I would say first, the first that matters to me is like going abroad just opens your mind. And so I say it again, but I think most of my best ideas in research come from this moment where I was outside of my office. So yeah, I think it really matters for that. Then definitely the experiences I had were fun. I don't want to steal that fun part from Matthias, but definitely going abroad can be really fun. And if you want to go to another sector, yeah, going abroad is also one good way for that. And to finish with, there is something I didn't say that I want to add is usually mobilities are short. So if you just go in another lab for 2 weeks or 1 month, you should already really prepare what you're going to do during this month, because it is short, intense, and to get the maximum outside of this mobility, you should really think about it beforehand. And then the experience will be amazing.
Thank you. Matthias?
Yes, I don't have any summarizing remarks. I'm very bad at synthesis, so I'm just going to touch very briefly on 2 points that have been discussed just now, so moving between sectors. I think mobility is very important, even if you don't want to stay in academia, because even if you work in the private sector, having moved to a different country, having worked in a different country, tells a lot to the employer, and they will probably ask you about that, and it's a great chance to present yourself from the best side. It's a chance to show them that you're adaptable, that you are ready to face challenges, and that you've mastered them. So even if you don't want to stay in academia, I think it will be still beneficial. And as I've said, as Mireille has stressed it, do it earlier than later, because earlier it's going to be easier than later, and do only as much as you want, and enjoy it as much as you can, learn from it as much as you can. And one final thing I want to say, an aspect that we haven't discussed so much, but it's Europe is really unique in that. I mean, of course, it's great to move to other continents, to other non-European countries, but in Europe we have this great privilege of being able to move between countries without any big problems, and it's just it gives you this feeling of belonging to this great European family, which is not without problems. Obviously, we have many great problems in Europe we have to face, but taking a train from Berlin to Padua, going through Austria, and maybe if the train breaks and then you stop for a coffee in Austria and then go to a conference in Belgium or in Spain, it's just a wonderful experience of being part of a big European family. And if I go to a different country in Europe, I don't feel that I'm going abroad, if you know what I mean. It doesn't feel like going to, I don't know, Egypt or the USA or whatever. Name any country you want. You just stay inside your European family, and it's just a wonderful feeling. So I encourage you to discover and explore that feeling for yourselves.
Thank you, Matthias. So last words to Renate.
Yeah, so I'll make it short, but I just want to highlight that I'm very lucky to be part of the Arqus Alliance, because my research mobility was in the framework of the Alliance, who is funding my PhD. Therefore, as I already said, and I cannot emphasize it enough, I invite students to be mobile, to go, to learn new things, to meet new people, to expand their network. And because although sometimes we cannot see the impact of such experiences, in the long run, they really make a difference in our lives. So yeah, this is my conclusion for today.
Thank you. Thank you, Renate. Thank you to all of you. I want just to close with a sentence that Mireille made before, when she said that the PhD candidates are the business cars of our university. It's true. And I thank you, PhD candidates, because your work is really invaluable. It's really, really very important for all of us. So thank you again to everybody, and enjoy the doctoral day, and see you on other screens. Goodbye. Ciao.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Goodbye.